For a decade, XRP and XLM have been the quiet specialists of the crypto world. Not the loud meme coins, not the number-go-up narratives, but the silent architects of fast, cheap, frictionless value transfer. And for a decade, their true moment never fully arrived, because the world's financial system wasn't ready to need them, until now. This year, everything changes. The forces they were built for, forces that once seemed years away, are all colliding in the same window of time. Central bank digital currencies? No longer theory, dozens are moving from test phases to national rollouts. Tokenized assets? The world's biggest financial institutions are preparing to turn trillions of dollars worth of bonds, stocks, and commodities into instant, blockchain-settled assets. Stablecoins? They're no longer a niche experiment. They've become the front lines of a global battle between private issuers and governments for control of digital money. And threading through all of this, ISO 20022, the new unified global payment language, is finally here, forcing every bank and payment processor on Earth to upgrade their systems or risk irrelevance. This isn't coincidence. It's convergence. The kind of rare, perfect storm where the tech, the timing, and the market demand all meet in the same place at the same time. And that place, the intersection of fast settlement, compliance, and cross-border interoperability, is exactly where XRP and XLM have been sitting, waiting, for years. If you hold either of these assets, or you've dismissed them as old news, the next 12 months could flip that perception on its head. Because once the pipes of the global financial system are rebuilt, the networks that can move money instantly, cheaply, and compliantly will no longer be optional, they'll be essential. By the end of this breakdown, you'll see why 2025 might be the single most important year in the history of both XRP and XLM. And why, if you're going to make a move, the smartest investors won't wait for the headlines, they'll position themselves before the first shockwave hits. So settle in. Because once you see what's coming, you won't look at these two coins or the next year the same way again. The CBDC Wave. 4 years, central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs, were treated like academic experiments. White papers, sandbox trials, closed-door discussions at economic forums. But in 2025, those conversations have turned into action. China's digital yuan is expanding beyond pilot cities. The European Central Bank is moving forward with its digital euro. Over 130 countries, representing more than 98% of global GDP, are now exploring or actively developing CBDCs. Why the sudden urgency? It's not just about keeping up with crypto. It's about control, efficiency, and competitiveness in the new financial era. CBDCs allow governments and central banks to issue programmable, trackable money directly to citizens or businesses, instantly without going through layers of commercial banks. They promise faster settlement, improved tax collection, and even new tools for managing economic crises. But here's the catch. These national digital currencies can't operate in isolation. If every country has its own CBDC but they can't talk to each other, or settle across borders efficiently, they'll just recreate the same slow, expensive mess we already have with fiat currencies. That's where the real bottleneck lies. And that bottleneck? It's exactly the problem XRP and XLM were designed to solve. XRP's XRP Ledger has already been tested in multiple central bank pilots for cross-border settlement. Its ability to handle massive liquidity transfers between currencies in seconds makes it a natural bridge asset for CBDCs. Stellar XLM, with its open-source design and history of connecting smaller financial institutions, is being looked at for retail and microtransaction layers, especially in developing economies where inclusion is key. The conversation has shifted. These projects aren't just competing with crypto, they're being studied as the connective tissue between entirely new national currencies. And when you're talking about linking entire monetary systems, the stakes go far beyond speculative trading. If CBDCs are the new engines of the global economy, XRP and XLM are two of the most battle-tested transmission systems ready to connect them. And the countries that choose to plug in early could change the pace and power of global commerce overnight. The tokenization tipping point. If CBDCs are about reinventing how money is issued, tokenization is about reinventing what we consider money in the first place. And 2025 isn't just another year in this evolution. It's the point where the theory becomes infrastructure. Tokenization means taking real-world value, stocks, bonds, real estate, commodities, even carbon credits, and representing it digitally on a blockchain. In other words, every paper certificate, every recorded ownership title, every settlement that used to take days and require a web of intermediaries can now be compressed into a cryptographic token that moves instantly, globally, and with full transparency. The old system? You trade a stock, it settles in 2 days. Maybe more if you're dealing across borders. You buy bonds, you're dealing with clearinghouses and custodians who each take a cut and add time. Multiply that by trillions of dollars in transactions, and you get a slow, bloated system that's begging for disruption. The new system? Trade a tokenized bond for a tokenized currency in seconds. Transfer real estate ownership in minutes. Fractionalize an asset so it can be owned by thousands of investors worldwide without them ever meeting. Here's why 2025 is the tipping point. Institutional commitment: BlackRock, JP Morgan, Fidelity, and other giants aren't exploring tokenization anymore. They're actively launching platforms to make it happen. Regulatory green lights: jurisdictions like Singapore, Switzerland, and the EU have already passed frameworks that allow tokenized assets to operate legally. Technology readiness: the blockchains capable of handling institutional-grade tokenization are no longer hypothetical, they're live, tested, and scalable. This is where XRP and XLM quietly step into the spotlight they've been waiting for. The XRP Ledger isn't just a payment rail, it's a multi-asset ledger. It can issue, hold, and settle tokenized versions of virtually anything, while providing the liquidity bridge to swap between them. Imagine a tokenized euro, a tokenized gold bar, and a tokenized corporate bond, all moving seamlessly between parties with XRP acting as the neutral settlement layer. Stellar, with its network of anchors and focus on fiat tokenization, offers something just as powerful: an open framework for issuing tokenized assets that can integrate into global payment and remittance systems. Want to tokenize a local currency in Africa and make it instantly exchangeable with a digital euro? Stellar's architecture already supports it. And here's the part most people miss. When trillions of dollars in tokenized assets start moving on-chain, they will need fast, cheap, and regulatory-compliant settlement layers that already exist. XRP and XLM aren't scrambling to catch up. They've spent the past decade refining for this exact moment. Think of it like this: if CBDCs are the new engines, tokenized assets are the cargo, and networks like XRP and XLM are the freight trains and air routes moving that cargo everywhere it needs to go. And once those tracks are laid, they'll run 24/7, 365 days a year, without the bottlenecks of the old financial system. The money in tokenization isn't in the token itself, it's in the flow of value. And whoever controls the fastest, most secure, most connected rails will be sitting at the center of a financial network bigger than anything the crypto market has seen before. And right now, 2 of those rails are hiding in plain sight: XRP and XLM. The Stablecoin Wars. If CBDCs are about sovereign money and tokenization is about digitizing assets, then stablecoins are the wild card, the bridge between crypto, traditional finance, and everyday spending. Stablecoins have already proven they work. USDT, USDC, and a handful of others are moving billions of dollars every single day. They're used for trading, cross-border payments, payroll, even remittances. But here's the problem. Most of the stablecoin market today is built on networks that weren't designed for global settlement at scale. Ethereum gas fees can spike unpredictably. Some chains struggle with transaction throughput. Others are too centralized for regulators to trust. In 2025, the stakes have never been higher. It's not just about which stablecoin wins, it's about where those stablecoins live. This is the arena where XRP and XLM can quietly dominate. The XRP Ledger was built for speed, low fees, and scalability. Issuing a stablecoin on XRPL means it can move globally in 3 to 5 seconds with negligible transaction costs. For institutions, that's not just a convenience, it's a competitive advantage. The Ledger's built-in decentralized exchange also makes it possible to swap between stablecoins, CBDCs, and tokenized assets without ever leaving the network. Stellar has been targeting this space even more directly. USDC is already natively issued on Stellar, and the network's architecture makes it easy for regulated financial institutions to issue their own fiat-backed stablecoins. For cross-border payments, especially small retail payments. XLM's near-zero fees and rapid settlement times make it one of the most practical stablecoin networks in existence. Now layer on the competitive landscape. CBDCs versus private stablecoins. Governments want their own digital money, but private stablecoins are faster to deploy and already have massive adoption. Interoperability battles. If a USDC on one chain can't move seamlessly to another chain, that's a problem. Networks like XRP and XLM already solve this by acting as bridges between ecosystems. Compliance pressure. Future stablecoins will need to meet global regulatory standards for anti-money laundering and transparency. Both XRPL and Stellar are already integrating features to meet those requirements without sacrificing speed. The truth is, while Bitcoin maximalists argue over store-of-value narratives and Ethereum developers debate scaling, the real fight for everyday digital money is happening in the stablecoin trenches. And XRP and XLM are positioned like two supply lines ready to feed every army in the field. When the stablecoin wars heat up, the networks that can handle billions of transactions, interconnect with CBDCs, and settle tokenized assets will be more than just crypto projects. They'll be the infrastructure of the digital economy. And for XRP and XLM holders, that's the moment when utility stops being a buzzword and starts being the main driver of value. The ISO 20022 integration. If tokenization is the cargo and stablecoins are the everyday currency, ISO 20022 is the language that will make the entire system interoperable with the global financial network. And in 2025, that language is finally going live across the world. For decades, international payments have relied on SWIFT messages, a standard that, while functional, is outdated, slow, and limited in the kind of data it can carry. ISO 20022 changes that entirely. It's a rich, structured messaging format that allows payment instructions to travel with far more detail, automation, and transparency. Why does this matter for XRP and XLM holders? Because ISO 20022 isn't just a technical upgrade, it's the connective tissue between traditional finance and blockchain-based value transfer. For banks, payment providers, and central banks rolling out CBDCs, this standard allows seamless integration between old systems and new ones. And both XRP Ledger and Stellar are natively aligned to work with it. The RippleNet network, which connects directly to the XRP Ledger for settlement, has been ISO 20022 compliant for years. That means when a bank in Europe sends a payment to a bank in Asia using the new format, the infrastructure to instantly settle that transaction on-chain with XRP is already in place. No bridging hack, no retrofit, native compatibility from the ground up. Stellar's approach is similar in spirit but broader in reach. By design, Stellar anchors, regulated financial institutions that connect local currencies to the Stellar network, can send and receive ISO 20022 messages, enabling direct communication with traditional payment systems. That makes it possible for a tokenized currency or stablecoin on Stellar to plug directly into the Rails banks are upgrading to right now. Here's the bigger picture. By 2025, most major economies, including the US, EU, UK, and Australia, are moving toward full ISO 20022 adoption for cross-border payments. This standardization massively reduces the friction of integrating blockchain settlement into the global banking system. Only a handful of digital asset networks are positioned to take advantage of this shift, and XRP and XLM are two of them. This is the quiet endgame that few retail investors are paying attention to. While traders obsess over charts, the financial plumbing of the world is being rebuilt in real time. And when that rebuild is complete, the blockchains that speak the same language as the global banking system will have a front-row seat to trillions of dollars in daily transaction volume. In other words, ISO 20022 isn't just a compliance badge. It's the handshake that will allow XRP and XLM to move from the edges of finance to the center of it. The moment before the switch, CBDCs, tokenized assets, stablecoins, ISO 20022. Individually, each of these trends would be enough to shake up the financial world. But in 2025, they're not happening in isolation. They're converging. And convergence changes everything. The world's central banks are racing to digitize national currencies. Institutions are preparing to tokenize trillions of dollars in assets. The stablecoin market is becoming a battlefield for dominance in global payments. And the entire financial messaging system is being rewired to speak a language that blockchain networks like XRP and XLM already understand fluently. This isn't hype. This isn't someday. It's already happening in pilot programs, regulatory frameworks, and early integrations right now, quietly, beneath the surface. While most of the market is still watching Bitcoin's price chart like it's the only game in town. For XRP and XLM holders, this is the rare window where the underlying utility is about to collide with mainstream adoption. Once those rails are live and value starts moving across them at scale, the shift won't be gradual. It will feel sudden, like a switch flipping. One day, they're just altcoins. The next, they're essential infrastructure for the global financial system. The question is, will you be positioned before the switch flips, or will you be chasing after it once the rest of the market catches on? Stay sharp, stay informed, and if you hold XRP or XLM, understand the weight of the moment you're in, because years from now, you might look back on 2025 as the year it all changed.